Hey guys, continuing my education, got my throat out, chilly day continues. All right, go get your, hot tea or hot cocoa, get your notepad, because we're going to talk about the monthly payment. In the last video, I really truly want you to go back. We're using this analogy because when I'm taping this, it's football season. So we're using the analogy of a football going through a goalpost. In the first phase, it was down payment and closing costs, which means should you even kick that field goal? Is it going to go way to the left or way to the right or start heading towards that goalpost with the ultimate goal of that ball going through the goalpost, which means you've closed on your house. So taking you step by step in this football analogy. So I hope you enjoy it. I hope this brings you some education to know where you begin. So in video number one, you might not even have to even watch this video because you might have already shanked it or your foot might not have even hit that football. But for people that are that close at the goal, above the goal, or, still has aspirations after you take part one, getting that done, the down payment and closing costs, we're going to talk about the monthly payment. So I've done some videos on this in the past. Sometimes it gets lost because we do so many, home tours and education videos and cocktails with Kurt. I said, hey, it's 2021. Let's update it. Let's do some videos. So some of this might be new to some of you guys. Some of this might be the same, but just with some added tidbits. But hopefully you find it really, really helpful. So a monthly payment. What does that involve? It's going to involve a few things. Monthly payment is going to involve principal, which is the amount you're paying down from what you've borrowed. The interest, which is tied to your interest rate. Is it fixed or adjustable? Is there PMI, which stands for private mortgage insurance? Good chance, unless you pay that up front, that will be part of your monthly payment. And then your escrows, your homeowner's insurance and your property taxes, pretty much broken out into 12, an estimated 12 payments throughout that year. Those things will adjust every year. Your homeowner's insurance most likely will either stay the same or go up. If you filed a claim, there's a good chance it will go up. Depending on crime stats in your area, depending on a lot of factors, the economy, what insurance companies are charging, if you bundle with your car note, stuff like that could help you save some money. But that is something that can change every year. And of course, your property taxes. It's a double-edged sword. Property taxes are, something that you can write off being a homeowner. So it's going to help you during tax season. But what freaks people out is, oh my God, my property taxes went up. Why did your property taxes go up? Either because your city or county have raised their what's called millage rates, or your property value has gone up, which again is a double-edged sword. You're going to still be able to write all that off for your taxes if you are doing, itemized deductions for your taxes. And the other good thing is that the value of your property, your net worth, your principal compared to what the house is worth, has gone up. So let's break it down. A principal. After you've put your money down, whether it's 3%, 3.5%, 5%, 10%, 20%. Your principal, what you owe for the rest of those 30 years in most cases, unless you do a 15-year mortgage, it'd be 15 years. But for most people, 90%, 95% of people, it's going to be a 30-year mortgage. Each time you make a mortgage payment, a portion of it is going towards your principal, which means if your property value is staying the same or going up and you're paying down the principal, you have what's called equity. Your net worth is going up. So every time you make a payment, as opposed to a rent payment, a lease payment, where you're paying somebody to stay and put a roof over your head and they charge you a certain amount, you are actually in a mortgage paying the mortgage down, paying the bank or the mortgage lender down, which is growing your net worth, which is a huge, huge advantage. And that's one of the main reasons to purchase a home. Number two, your interest. Your interest right now, when I'm taping this in January 2021, January of 2021, interest rates started like probably right last summer, started to get into the twos and low threes. For most people that put 3.5% down. If you put more money down, it might even be a little bit on the lower end. But most people, I would say, over the last 6 months, 8 months, have purchased a home with an interest rate in the range of 2.5 to 3.25%. In context, guys, historically, a year ago at this time, when we started looking at building our house, rates for people with good credit scores were well into about 4.25 to 4.7. Historically, a good interest rate has been very high threes to probably mid fives since I've been in real estate for many, many years. So when you see an interest rate in the twos and anything under like 3.75, you are talking about historically low rates. The lower your interest rate, the lower that monthly payment is going to be, because it's just like, you don't have to be a rocket scientist. A 4% interest rate compared to a 2.5% interest rate is going to save you hundreds of dollars a month over the year and tens of thousands over the 30-year, because a lot more of it is going down to pay down that principal as opposed to that interest. The good thing about it is, even if it's a 2.5%, 2.99, 3.25, 3.5, even a 5.50, is that, again, if you're itemizing your write-offs, that is another tax write-off. If you are renting, if you are leasing, $1,500, $2,000, $2,500, $3,000, $800, whatever the case may be, that's just money gone. That's not raising your net worth. That's not paying down your principal. It's paying down your landlord's principal, right? The next thing, PMI, private mortgage insurance. A bank looks at you, any kind of lender, me, you, Susie, Lorenzo, whoever the case may be, Curtis, anybody that puts down 20%, they are looked at as golden. I mean, think about it, guys. To be able to save up 20% on a 100, 200, 300, $500,000, $1 million home is tens of thousands, in some cases, hundreds of thousands of dollars down. A majority of us, I'd say 90% of our clients cannot put 20% down. That does not make you a bad person. That does not make you an unqualified buyer. That does not make you going to get a bad deal. That means that the banks see that a majority of Americans can truly afford 3 or 3.5% down, which we talked about in another, the first part of the video. So I don't want to get too tied up into that. So there's a good chance you're going to be charged what's called PMI. PMI, again, stands for private mortgage insurance. I can't say the exact number because it's going to depend on the lender, but let's just say it's going to be hundreds of dollars a month, because the bank has said you are qualified, but you are not that gold standard 20% down. So they're going to look at you as anybody. If you put yourself in that position, if you were the bank, if you and your friend, your cousin, your aunt, your grandmother, your total stranger came up to you and said, "Hey, Mark, I want $350,000. What would you charge for that?" You're going to take out an insurance policy if you were to default on that me, Mark, me as the bank is not going to lose out. I have to buy insurance to protect myself from you defaulting on that mortgage. And the big picture of things, it's a fair trade-off, right? And as we talked about in the last video, PMI could either be paid upfront, which is really thousands and thousands of dollars, so most people can't do that on top of their down payment and closing costs, or they are going to pay that monthly PMI payment. FHA, it's for the life of the loan. Conventional, it will drop once you get to that 20%. So that's something to consider when you're going through this process. So that is going to be part of your monthly payment. So we're at principal, your interest, your private mortgage insurance. Finally, those two other factors. You're going to shop around for your homeowner's insurance. Sometimes it's going to be, combining your car insurance with your homeowner's insurance. Sometimes they call it hazard insurance. And you're going to shop around for that. I can't tell you what is a great deal on that because it's going to depend on, is it new or a resale home? Is it being valued off of a basement home or a slab home? Is it in a flood zone? Is it in an environmentally unfriendly area? Like there's so many different factors, but you're going to be able to, get various quotes. In general, I would say use $1,000. Some cases, if you're a high-end home, it's going to be thousands of dollars. If you're at a beginner home, it could be as low as $600 and somewhere in between. But when you're calculating, just use $1,000. If it ends up being 1,500, 1,700, 800, you'll adjust accordingly. But I use a $1,000 baseline. And then finally, your property taxes. Again, property taxes are going to be, if you're an itemized federal or state tax return person, you're going to be able to write that off as well. So if your property taxes are $3,500 a year, $5,000 a year, that will be an itemized item on your tax return. That is a huge advantage compared to, again, if you're paying rent. Now, I like to use the number 0.0125. I know my New York people, LA people, what? I pay 8%, 9%, 10%, 12% in New Jersey and Connecticut and California and all that. It's going to differ. Some counties, like a Cherokee County, might be 0.01. Inside the city of Atlanta might be 0.015, 0.016. So on average, I say use 0.0125. So again, if we're using 350,000 times 0.0125, that is going to be your estimated property taxes for the year. You divide that by 12. You divide your homeowner's insurance, if it's 1,000, divided by 12. And so you'll go to mortgagecalculator.org. Again, write this down, mortgagecalculator.org. And you're going to be able to plug in this. It's going to have a PMI section. It's going to have your property taxes, your homeowner's insurance, your 3%, your 3.5% down. And you're going to be able to calculate how much that is. So again, you're in a really good position. If you, football analogy, you got through part one, you have a plan, you're very close, or you're at or above what you need for your down payment and closing costs. You've kicked the ball. Now it's starting the trajectory heading towards the goalpost. You're looking at estimating that monthly payment using mortgagecalculator.org. Those numbers are looking good to you also. That's when you want to send us the DM and say, hey, Mark, hey, Kurt, I did what you said. I did part one and part two. Numbers look good. I'm not sure if I'm there. So now I need to speak to your lender referral to go for my pre-approval. And you're going to verify those numbers that you have calculated yourself using those formulas. Am I in a ballpark? Am I way off? If you feel like you're there for part one, but not sure for part two yet, those numbers look a little bit, I think I could afford this, I think I cannot. Still worth the call because our lender referral will be able to tell you, yes, this is where you're at, or this is where you need to improve. Here's a plan for your credit, through the credit analyzer. Got to pay off one credit card and then you'll be good, you feel good. But again, if you're not anywhere close, guys, to these numbers, then it's not worth it. Keep striving, keep being inspired, keep saving. But again, now the next video, we're going to do part 3. You've qualified, you've gotten your pre-approval. What happens next? Okay, stay tuned.